Okay, so for I guess let me share my screen here as well, just so everyone can see what I've got pulled up on my end. And again, we'll share this document with everyone as well once we're done with the session here later today. Now, first and foremost, again, as I mentioned, my name is Painted Doll. I'm one of the staff team members here. I'm one of the admins and staff team members for RDV. I do a lot of work on the league side of things and help coordinate a lot of the work that the staff team members put into it. First and foremost, again, for all of you who are captains, team managers, or even just players filling in for your captains, thank you all for taking the time to join the meeting today. And welcome to the week right before the start of Season 3, pretty much. As we know, we're going to Season 3 of the Rendezvous Valorant League RVL. And so as always, every season, right about a week before, we kind of have these sessions spread out over the course of this week. We've got two sessions right now planned for this week. We've got Monday, which is right now, and we've got another session on Wednesday, the 10th of May at 10 p.m. And we have a tentative session for Friday as well, depending on whether that's needed or not. Again, essentially, different teams signing up late. And so, with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump right into our. Let's go and jump right in. Sorry, let me zoom this in a little bit. I think Panda just mentioned that it's a bit small. Let's see what can I do here. Here we go. Okay, so zooming in for everyone so everyone can see. Hopefully that's a little bigger. Everyone can see. If not, please let me know. You can drop a chat message as well in this channel here if you need it. But again, so let's go over kind of key details here. For Season 3, again, as an overview, one of the key things that we like to talk about and cover is important dates and days that you're going to want to remember over the course of the season. For regular season, as always, we have a regular season and we have a playoff portion of the bracket as well. For the regular season, for the championship division, we are going to be doing similar to season 2. Sorry, we got feedback that most teams enjoyed that format, so we're going to be sticking with that this time around. Again, it's going to be 6 rounds of Swiss as a best of 2 format again, as always. And for the challengers division, again, I'm not sure any challengers captains here. The challengers division this season is looking to be a bit smaller than we did have last season. So as of right now, we are considering swapping from the Swiss format over to a round robin, 7 rounds. As we right now, essentially we've got 8 teams signed up. So essentially, we just be a round robin format, best of 2s. Again, this is tentative. We are waiting to see if a couple more teams do sign up, just so we can try to get a bit of a bigger group there as well. Challengers captains, we will keep you guys posted as we get more information there to actually, round out that information and solidify the format there. We should have that in the next day or two as well. Again, however, that doesn't really affect. That may affect the regular season dates. It may extend the challenger season by a week. We will keep you in mind. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we initially were planning for a similar 6-round Swiss system as we are doing in the championship division, but unfortunately that may not be possible given the small number of teams. But again, we'll keep you guys posted. So key dates to remember, again, like I mentioned, this is the week right before May 15th to June the 29th. That is going to be the regular season in terms of weeks. It's right now, it's a 6-week period essentially. We've got starting next Monday and 6 weeks on, ending on a Thursday. And again, key playoff dates there. For all divisions, it's going to be top 8 this time around, so it's a bit of a change up format-wise from Season 2. Season 2, we did top 4 of each division. We're going back to a top 8 for each division this time around. And again, all 3 stages, quarters, semis, and finals will be best of 3s. For the challenger division, again, these days are based off of the 6-round Swiss. We will let you know if this needs to change. If we were to stick with the 6-round Swiss for the time being, your playoff period will be from Monday, July 3rd through Sunday, July the 9th. And the championship division will be Monday, July 10th to July 16th. Again, depending if we need to extend the challengers division by a week to account for round robin, we may end up switching the championship and challengers dates. We'll finalize that over the next day or two, and we'll keep everyone posted there as well on that end. Again, as always, we do have the standard ad drop for this season. However, there is going to be a roster lock in place. Again, no more adding or dropping players. Again, this will end up being the day after your very last match for your regular season. In this case, the championship division, that is June 29th. And challengers will be Friday, June 30th. Again, knowing that, it's a Tuesday and a Friday, as you guys can imagine, the standard, we're using the same days again for default days for this coming season. We've got for the challengers division, that's going to be on Thursdays. So your very first match, default day will be May 25th. And then for the championship division, your official first day is going to be May the 22nd. which is so not next Monday but the following Monday. So again, we officially launched the matchups next week, and then you've got an entire week to play your matches. Barring you don't get to play that, you essentially play on your default day or match day essentially, which is Mondays for championship and Thursdays for Challengers Division. So other key things we want you guys to know as well. Again, division-wise, similar to Season 2. We've got 2 divisions for Season 3. We've got the Championship and Challengers Divisions. The Championship Division, similar to last season, again, is an open division. No changes to the rank requirements there. Or rather, there is no rank requirements for the Championship Division. However, again, recommended rank is always somewhere around, high diamond to ascendant. Just because, again, you've got players from all ranges, ranging up to Radiant. We've got players in Radiant, Immortal, pretty much every bracket in the server. So a lot of teams in Championship, they're typically hovering around, like Ascendant, Immortal-ish average rank there. Challengers Division, again, same rank requirements as last season. We go from Silver 1 up to Diamond 3. Again, we do recommend that if you possible, just to make sure it's a bit more of a balanced environment, that teams try to be, on average around the gold range. But again, that doesn't stop you from playing if your team is slightly of a lower average rank as well. We've seen teams that have a slightly lower average rank than some of the higher teams in the division and still do really well as well. But it's again, like Challenge Division is mainly to allow teams to really grow there as well and really get to learn how to play in a more structured environment as well. Roster-wise, there are no changes as well this season. We're sticking back to what worked last season. We have an 8-player roster, so 8 players maximum. You can have a manager and a coach that don't count for your roster slots. However, if your manager or coach are also players or known players essentially, you end up being, they need to be part of that 8-person roster essentially. Let's see. Sorry, just keeping track of the channel as well. I see we've got a texture there. Again, like Panda mentioned, if you've got questions, feel free to post it in the mandatory team meeting chat channel. That's one right above our RDV League meeting channel. And that'll just, we'll keep track of that. Or if you have a question as well, when we're going through, feel free to use the request to speak function. It should be right at the bottom of your screen as well. And then we can go and get you invited up and have you join us here in the voice channel. We can, help answer your question there as well. Back to things related to the season, of course. For the map pool, as always, we follow what the competitive map pool is that Riot sets. This time around, of course, as we know, Icebox has rotated out and Bind has rotated back in. Therefore, the map pool for this season, barring any changes on Riot's end over the course of the season, which we don't believe there will be, just because we usually end right around the same amount of time that an act runs. But essentially, for this season, we're looking at Ascent, Bind, Fracture, Haven, Lotus, Pearl, and Split as the 7 map pool that you can use for your, for best 2, best 3 through the map pick ban process. Maps that are currently out of rotation is going to be Breeze and Icebox, of course. In terms of the agent pools as well, all agents are legal for play. We don't have any new agents released as this time as of, the latest agent Gecko, but he's been out for a while now, so he's already legal for competitive play. I believe there's going to be a new agent being added in Act 3, which may or may not coincide with kind of the tail end of this season. We're not 100% sure yet on that. We will, again, keep you guys posted. We'll let you know way in advance, of course, once we know what the release date is, when the agent becomes available for us to, for teams to use in play here. In terms of team add drops, again, similar to last season, we've got the same ruling in place. Teams are allowed to add as many players as they need to in a given week to hit that 8-player roster cap. However, you are only allowed to drop 1 player a week. This is really to help discourage teams from, completely reshuffling their entire lineup and changing things up. So again, I repeat, you're allowed to add players. Let's say you're going into the season right now with a 5-player starting roster. You can add 3 players on week 1. You can either add 3 players on week 1 or any number, across the weeks till you get to the 8 limit cap. But you can only drop 1 player in a given week. And like I mentioned before playoffs, we've got that roster lock dates up above. That's also covered in the rulebook. So if you need to go back to the information, feel free to check that out, or check in the league help desk channel, and we'll be able to help out. I see J Pies has a question. If a map gets evaded by Riot for some reason, will the director back for RDB? Correct. Yes. So if there is some game-breaking bug that gets discovered, we'll keep ourselves in the loop of what's going on in the world of Riot as well. So if there is a game-breaking bug there, we can either A, disable the map, or B, teams that exploit said bug, as we do anyway, even if there is an undiscovered bug that gets exploited over the course of play, we do look into that through VODs and stuff like that, and then handle with appropriate punishments essentially for that, which usually results in like a map loss or some other penalty to the team that abuses a certain bug or exploit there. So back to the question that we had about, back to the topic on the ad dropping. Again, like I mentioned, once you're registered, a player must remain on a team for 2 weeks before they can be dropped, essentially. Again, this is to prevent unnecessary or significant churn in a specific roster. And again, if a player is dropped for a specific week, they cannot be added the following week. So, for example, they cannot play for that same week that they were dropped if they already played their match. So let's say player A was playing with team 1, for example. They played their match early instead of on the match day, and then the team decided to drop them, and they tried to join team 2. They would not be eligible to play for that same week for team 2. They can only play for the following week after. Again, playoffs as well, as we mentioned, we're going from a top 4 from last season. We're switching back to top 8. We got some feedback saying that more teams would like to be involved in the playoff bracket portion of things. So we're expanding it back to top 8 this time around. There are some changes in the scheduling. We'll talk about that in just a second right below as well. But again, all playoff matches are going to be best of 3s for the quarters, semis, and finals there. So now jumping into kind of playoff schedules, we've got some more information for you guys here essentially on this, how we're going to be scheduling that. So all quarterfinal matches must be played by the end of day Friday of the post-regular season. So again, as I mentioned earlier, we've got the dates up above. Feel free to go back and refer to that if you need to again. So basically what's going to happen is going to be this. So the regular season ends. We've got 1 week set aside for challenges. We've got 1 week set aside for champions. All the quarterfinal matches need to be played over the course of the weekdays, essentially. So Monday through Friday to get your quarterfinal matches done. And then we'll go into Saturday and Sunday where we'll cover the semifinals and the grand finals there for both divisions, essentially. So again, like I mentioned, Challenge Playoffs right now is scheduled for July 3rd to July 9th, which is Monday to Sunday, of course. However, that is subject to change depending on the number of teams and whether we're going to be switching to round robin. We'll keep you guys posted there. The Championship Division Playoffs right now tentatively is set for July 10th to July 16th, the Monday to Sunday there as well. Again, like I mentioned, for the quarterfinal day, at least for the quarterfinals, teams are free to schedule their match with their opponents, at any point in time over the course of that Monday through Friday. However, if both teams cannot come to an agreed upon alternate time, we will then have the actual match be played on the Friday, so July the 7th and July the 14th for both the Challenger and Championship divisions respectively at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And then, of course, we now roll into the weekend portion of the playoff season, the playoff bracket, sorry. So on Saturdays, we're going to have both semifinals, semifinal 1 and semifinal 2. And then on Sunday, of course, we're going to cover the grand finals. Again, the start time is going to be 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific for both days. So on Saturday, we've got semifinals 1, which is going to be the winner of quarterfinals 1 versus the winner of quarterfinals 2. And then the winner of quarterfinals 3 versus winner of quarterfinals 4 that will happen right after. Again, we will be streaming the matches here. And so we essentially have, so essentially if you're going to semis from your quarters, expect Saturday to be a busy day for you. And then, of course, you make it to grand finals. Sunday, we have grand finals starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Socks question, so there are no subs per se, only 6, 7, 8 mans, correct. You cannot play for a second team. So this is to prevent, one person playing for like 10 different teams, for example. Cool. So that covers information on the playoff schedule. Again, we have all this in the rulebook as well. If you have questions, feel free to refer to the rulebook or check in with one of the staff team members. We'll be happy to kind of run you through the information there as well again. And so, I do have Kaiser in here. Kai, do you want to jump in for this section, or would you like me to just kind of keep going?
It's up to you. I can certainly take over, or you're doing such a great job. You can keep going as well.
Sure, I'll keep going. Yes, and then Kai will help me out with questions there at the end. But yeah, so other things we want to cover as well. Key things to keep in mind. Again, as we mentioned, match day. Match day, of course, is the default expected time slot that we expect teams to play their matches if both teams can come to an agreeable time to play at a different time over the course of the week. Championship division, it's going to be Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Challengers, Thursdays, 9 p.m. Easterns. Didn't have any complaints. Most teams for the respective divisions mentioned that it was good and worked for their schedule from season 2, so we're keeping that the same here. Again, as I mentioned, rescheduling wise, if a team cannot make match day, they are able to approach the other team and attempt to request a reschedule. However, again, the opposing team is not obligated to do the rescheduling essentially. However, historically, we always had teams be very accommodating and try to help as best as possible. Again, no one wants to just not get to play for a week, even if it's a forfeit win here. Really, everyone just wants to be able to play in a structured environment, kind of play in the brackets that we kind of set up for the regular season and go into playoffs as well. So again, the earlier you know that your team might not be able to make it for a given week, say like 2 weeks in advance, feel free to. Again, it's a bit harder because given a Swiss setup with challenges, if we go to the round robin, it may be a little easier because you know what the matchup is going to be ahead of time. But essentially, as soon as you know when we release the schedules on the following day, following default day, following the match day. So again, on championship division, we expect to release the new matchups for a given week on Tuesday morning, and then for our challenge division, it's going to Friday morning. Reach out to the captain as soon as you can, just to see give yourself your team and both your team and the other team as much time as possible to try to find an alternate time if you can't make the match day slot essentially. Other things you want to talk about as well, a few things that kind of came up in feedback from a couple teams over the course of season 2. One of the things we wanted to bring up as well was match start times. Again, like we mentioned, the match day start time is 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Monday and Thursday. Teams essentially, we give a grace period of 15 minutes. So let's say, it hits 9 p.m. Eastern, the other team's not fully ready yet. Teams are teams are going to give the other team 15 minutes total to essentially start the match. Beyond that 15 minutes, it is up to the discretion of the team that is already fully present, whether or not they want to provide an extra extension there to the other team. So that's up to the discretion of the team captains there. They will discuss it. If there's any disputes there, feel free to loop in any of the league team members. Ping myself or ping the league team staff members in the help desk channel. I'll be happy to help get that sorted out if needed. Or you can also send information through mod mail if you prefer to not bring it up in a more like public setting like the league help desk channel essentially. Other things to cover as well in terms of forfeits, 4v4s, 4v5s. Again, we had a couple of situations last season where some teams were not able to field the full roster, unfortunately, just because something came at the last minute. Teams are allowed to play 4v4s or 4v5s. Again, it's up to the other team as well, whether they want to, agree to play a 4v4 or you want to just, play with your full 5 roster and their team plays with 4, unfortunately. Again, if there is a forfeit, both teams will eventually... both teams cannot make the default match day. Sorry, I forgot that part. It will result in a 1-1 tie for both teams, just because both teams were not able to make the default match day. So again, if there is a situation like that, feel free to let the league team know in advance under either league help desk, or we also have a score reporting channel, and we can go ahead and get it sorted on the back end on Battlefy for everyone as well. However, again, if a team cannot field at least 4 players, that team must forfeit. So again, realistically, there's probably no point playing a 3v5. So anytime there's lesser than 4 players, that will just automatically result in a forfeit for the team that is unable to field at least 4 players, essentially. Other things I wanted to remind people about as well. We've got the league voice channels. Last season, there were a couple teams that ended up using their own channels from time to time, so we have to kind of drop reminders there again. So we're just reminding everyone right now. All teams need to use the assigned voice channels that we started creating already and putting teams with roles to access those. You are expected to use that voice channels during match day or whenever you're playing your match with the other team. However, again, feel free to use that channel if you need to use it for your own team scrims, team practices as well. Again, those channels are there for your use through the end of the season. And again, if there are issues, if for example you're playing your opponent and you notice certain things like again, we made a change in season 2, and we're keeping that here as well in season 3, where all teams are actually able to see what the other team members of the opposing teams, or basically any team that's in the voice channels right now. If you notice that a coach is not muted or something, feel free to let them know, and they can they can mute us. Sometimes again, it may not be malicious. People might just forget. Um, but if you're running issues there, feel free to let the RDV League team staff know. We can always help out there as well. Again, in terms of teams not using the voice channels, we've got 3 levels of punishment here that we kind of laid out as well. The first offense, it's just a warning to remind you to swap over to the voice channel and use it. The second time, not so friendly warning. Basically, we're going to be more stern with that. Third time around, we are going to end up disqualifying the team from playoffs in total. Again, this is to make sure there's full transparency for other teams as well. You don't have like a seven, 2 or 3 other people there, helping the counter strat, or potentially being in other people's streams and providing more information there. This is to provide that transparency to teams as they are playing their matches as well. In terms of score reporting, we've got a link here. Again, like I said, we'll make this we'll make this document visible for everyone so everyone can access it and revisit here. We do have this information also in the league rulebook again as well. However, again, as I mentioned, we are using the assisted score reporting feature that is in Battlefy, similar to last season. So at the end of your match, the captains will go into Battlefy. You go into your matchup, and then you will report your scores. Again, all your accounts will be linked to your Riot accounts already in Battlefy. So you'll just be able to directly select the two maps that you played for your match, and then all your information and all your scores will be ported in directly into Battlefy. So last few reminders we got for you guys as well. In terms of match scheduling, if you're playing on the standard match day, you don't have to post that. But if you're playing at a schedule that's outside of the regularly scheduled match time, please post that there so we know that the match is being played. Again, this is to help facilitate with the potential for the production team to help stream matches. Again, on the production team end, we are hoping to be able to stream both Challengers and Champions games weekly. We know we're trying to have teams ready to do, the default match days, so Mondays and Thursdays. However, if there are teams that are playing outside this release schedule Monday and Thursdays, and we've got availability of staff members who want to do production, we may end up being able to help stream those matches as well. So, as such, please post if you're rescheduling a match outside the outside default match time there. And again, I mentioned it. I might have missed it earlier, but for playoffs as well. For the quarterfinal matches, again, as the teams are, scheduling those, we'll see what we can do on the production end. But we are committing to doing production for both the Challengers and Championship divisions playoffs from the semis through the grand finals, essentially. I've got a question here for 8D as well. I see language in rulebook regarding new maps which are limited to be used 2 weeks after release. I don't see specific about all maps being reintroduced and maps getting deactivated. I assume it would be similar. Might need leaking confirmed. We would need at least 5 maps in regular season and 17 playoffs. Correct, 8D. So we are keeping the same 7 maps that are currently in the competitive pool that Riot is using. In the event that we need to rotate a map back in, it'll be similar. It'll be a 2-week period before it rotates back in. I think it's similar to what Riot had done in the past as well. Actually, I might be wrong. I think Bayern kind of came right back in. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we need to get it. But essentially, we will treat it similar to we'll treat it similar to essentially a new map. So we'll keep the old map in, probably most likely for 2 weeks, and then rotate the map swap there on that end. And again, other reminder, we're using Battlefy for score reporting. So again, for team managers, team captains, please remember to go in and provide us with the updated scores as soon as you can, just because we do want to push out the matchups for the following week. The day after your match default day. So for Championship Division, we want to push it on Tuesday morning, and for Challengers, we'll push it out on Friday morning. This is just to make sure all teams have as much time as possible to schedule their matches heading into the following week after as well. But yeah, so that's the main things we want to kind of cover today in today's meeting. Happy to field any questions that anyone might have. If you have a question, feel free to post it in the into the mandatory team channel. If not, feel free to use the request to speak feature as well. We can do it. Definitely get you up here and help answer some questions that you have. But if there aren't really any questions for now, again, on behalf of myself and the staff teams, welcome
Hey,
to
Painted.
season 3.
There's
Yep.
a question in the chat from Nuns.
Sorry. Question from Nuns. So we post on Battlefy. We don't have to post in Discord like all the seasons. No. Nuns is so correct. You don't need to post in Discord. You would post in Battlefy unless there was some um, issue that caused something where it was like something happened on the back end where Battlefy is not working. Feel free to let us know. Definitely make sure you keep the score, your match score history on, so it doesn't, end up going missing and you end up losing that if the stuff on Battlefy is not working. But if you're reporting on Battlefy, you don't need to report through the score reporting channel. That's mainly there in case something happens. Last year we had a couple teams that I think something happened on the back end where they weren't able to finish their match or something like that, so it became or they couldn't pull their match history because they ended up hiding their match history there, and so Battlefy is not able to pull that information out on their end with this assistant score reporting, just because they require access to the right API, and you hide it, it just gets hidden. No one can access it again on the right end. So that's a good question. That's a good question that segues into remember to keep your match history turned on, just so that actually gets pulled there, and we can actually pull that data on the assistant score reporting in Battlefy. But yeah, if no one else has any other questions, that's pretty much I think everything we had for today. Thank you everyone for taking the time to pop by. We did take attendance, so we know which teams were here. And again, if you're not your captain, you want your captain to come by, feel free to let them know that we've got another session running again on Wednesday to go over basically similar information here, just so they can be in the loop as well. But if not, that's pretty much all we've got. Thank you everyone. Welcome to season 3, and we're looking forward to a good season ahead. Oh, and like Panda said, over the course of this week, if you have any other questions, feel free to post it in this text channel here, the mandatory team meeting channel, the mandatory team meeting chat, and we'll keep an eye on that. We'll be helping answers as well, or you can just post in League Help Desk, which is the more like frequently monitored one as well, and we'll be able to get to those as we get to them.